beat the San Antonio Spurs 124-113 to take home the NBA Cup championship. Now, I did watch the entirety of this game. It was a very, very exciting game back and forth. I thought both teams played very well. I thought both teams did what they were wanting to do in this game, but I do want to talk about the main points that I saw. As you guys can see, I took a bunch of notes. I got all my notes from the game, so I'm going to read them off to you and kind of go through the game as in a progression. So firstly, Cat, first shot of the game, tough three-point shot. That is what the main point of emphasis that I wanted to see for this New York Knicks team was how many three-point shots are they going to take. And if you see right here, 15 of 40. They took more three-point shots than the San Antonio Spurs did when if you look at the semifinals game, the Knicks barely took any threes against the Magic. I thought it was so funny to watch them completely shift identities on a game-to-game basis to find different ways to win. Mind you, their main focal point was the same exact thing. Now, I thought it was interesting to start the game. The Spurs were biting a lot on high pick and rolls between Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. They were playing up on it, right? They were not allowing them to get into isolation situations. They were putting the pressure on at the higher part of the perimeter. They were, I wrote, letting the forwards cut to beat them. If you watch the game, there's a reason OG Anunoby not only finished with 28 points, but had 20 of those 28 points in the first half, because that was the Spurs game plan. The Spurs game plan was to not let Brunson and Cat's pick and roll game beat them, right? They weren't going to allow that two-man game to control the pacing of the game. They wanted they wanted the forwards to have to shot create and make themselves threats on offense to win. The thing is, though, with this Knicks team, you look at guys like Josh Hart, you look at guys like OG Anunoby, you look at guys like Mikal Bridges. These are great off-ball players. I don't think that the Spurs, I think it was maybe the correct game plan, but I think they honed in on it a little bit too much, allowing guys like OG to get back cuts on them, allowing guys like Mikal to be able to slip around. Josh Hart running in transition. We'll get into that in a little bit. I do want to talk about a little bit with the Spurs because I will say I thought the Spurs were going to win this game through the first half. I really, really did. Firstly, I thought their shooting was good. I wrote down in my notes, Devin Vassell is the Andre Iguodala of this San Antonio Spurs team, but man, is he a good, confident shooter. I saw multiple times where Vassell, I know he was only shot 4 for 14 from the field. I believe he had a bad second half, funny enough, but man, his jumper is so high, it's smooth, it's confident. I really, really like what I see out of Devin Vassell. He feels like one of those guys that's going to be around the Spurs for a while. My next thing I pointed out, Brunson sees a mismatch and gets to his spot so fast. It is incredible how quick Jalen Brunson has become at making a decision on when a guy is guarding him and saying, I can get to my spot within a second. Jalen Brunson multiple times in this game had guys like Harrison Barnes, Julian Champagnie, and Keldon Johnson switched onto him. And the second that switch happened, the 4 Knicks players got to the other side of the court. Brunson, within a step, would get to the spot he wants to and take either a floater, a mid-range, an and one. He would get to his spot. It is so impressive to see the shot creation of a smaller guard like Jalen Brunson. I also wrote stuff. I wish I could pull it up for you guys. If I could find the play-by-play here and maybe find a video of it. There was an incredible first quarter pass at the 5-minute mark. It was right here. OG Anunoby makes a 2-foot dunk. Karl Anthony Towns assist. I'll try and find it and maybe put it on over the clip. This pass right here was beautiful. Karl Anthony Towns gets the ball on the right side, outside the three-point line. Next Gem Sports, if you remember, he gets double-teamed by Wemby, I believe, and Stephon Castle, and just takes a couple pivot steps, zips the ball around to OG Anunoby in the paint. One of the most underrated aspects of Karl Anthony Towns' game that I don't think a lot of people understand is his passing and playmaking ability, with having to be a mixture of a 4 and a 5 throughout his career with Minnesota and now with New York. His playmaking has grown to number 1 overall expectations. That's kind of what I would say. I thought it was interesting. There was one play. I'm going back now to talk about more about Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson did his hunting mismatch again. He hunted Julian Champagnie and Keldon Johnson. Got the and one immediately. I wrote down, how long will Brunson be able to hunt these forward matchups? Because they have the guard defenders, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox to me is not even that bad of a defender. But man, the second that Jalen Brunson would get that mismatch on a bigger forward, it is barbecue chicken for him, man. It is incredible how fast this dude can get up to his shots. Yes, I wrote down, want to know why the Spurs are so good, by the way. It was right here. There was one play in this game that really, really, really makes you remember. Let me find it. It was right around here at the end of the second quarter. They force a 24-second violation on the New York Knicks. The defensive rotations during that time, the Spurs' IQ for how young of a team that they are, between the guys that I mentioned already, and obviously they have the best defensive player standing in the paint behind them, right? So that definitely helps because he is the quarterback of this defense. He's always saying he's going to switch to stay in the paint, forcing the guards and forwards to take the perimeter defender so he can initiate the interior. Oh my gosh, these young guys have learned how to rotate defensively and communicate at such a high level for their age that it makes me feel so good about this Spurs team moving forward. I know that they lost this game. They really lost it because of a bad fourth quarter. We'll get into that in a little bit. But wow, some of these Spurs defensive plays for technically this is a first-year head coach, first full year as a head coach with a guy like Wemby, Castle, Harper. These are young players. Julian Champagnie was an out-of-rotation guy in Washington who goes to San Antonio. These guys have such good defensive rotations. The problem is that they aren't best one-on-one defenders a lot of the time, and you saw that come up a lot in the fourth quarter when they started getting tired. It's funny, I wrote down OG Anunoby's hitting his shots but missing his free throws. I believe he had a stretch where he missed 2 free throws in a row, and I was like, man, OG, you're hitting everything, man. You're hitting your corner threes. You're hitting all your shots. Just hit your free throws, too. OG, 3 for 5. I guess he hit all the ones outside of those 2 that I had to, of course, mark down. But I thought that was funny. I love seeing shooters make all their corner threes, make their shot creation shots, yet they go to the free throw line and miss. I think it's the funniest thing in basketball. Wow. I did want to bring up a couple of shout-outed players. One, Tyler Kolek played a hell of a game. Off the bench, I mentioned that I thought the Spurs would have the bench advantage of this game, specifically because of guys like Keldon and Champagnie being the bigger bodies off the bench. That was not the case. The Knicks shot creation guards off the bench when Mikal Bridges came out, when Josh Hart came out. Man, Jordan Clarkson and Tyler Kolek played aggressive offense. They did not let the Spurs stay on their toes. I was really confused at first why I was seeing a Tyler Kolek and Jalen Brunson backcourt at the same time, until I saw Tyler Kolek getting opportunity and making the most of advantage basketball, which when I say advantage basketball, guys, that means 3-on-2s or 2-on-1 opportunities, right? Where you have more offensive players attacking than the defense has to defend. That is what I've heard that term used a bunch. Advantage basketball. When you have guys like Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns out on the floor, guys like Tyler Kolek and Jordan Clarkson are going to have advantage basketball opportunities. And man, they took advantage of it. Jordan Clarkson had a couple great shots in this one. I thought he was playing aggressive all day. He had a huge impact on this win. Tyler Kolek, specifically in that fourth quarter when Mikal Bridges did not return due to injury, was very impressed with Tyler Kolek's aggressiveness. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, yada yada. You guys see what I'm talking about. Now, to start off the second half, because that was my first half takes. To get into the second half, De'Aaron Fox started off immediately 2 straight threes. I really thought the Spurs were going to run away with this one, guys. I cannot lie. I wrote it down. Dylan Harper came out in the second half. He had 2 threes in the first half, and people were like, yo, Dylan Harper is here. Well, he came back in the second half, and in my opinion, had a better second half than first half, Dylan Harper. 21 points on 50% shooting, 5 of 7 from 3. Dude is proving into a good shooter. 7 rebounds. He didn't have to do the playmaking, which I've mentioned in the past. That is what Stephon Castle is there to do. Stephon Castle is there for defense. He's there for playmaking. Dylan Harper came in and played his role off the bench very well. I wrote 6 minutes to go in third quarter. Spurs were just playing Spurs basketball. They were passing the ball around. They were making the right plays. But everything fell apart when Mitchell Robinson came in this fourth quarter and absolutely caused havoc. Wemby was not being as aggressive on the glass, and I thought that was because of 1, injuries, 2, Luke Cornett was not being as great in the second half as he was in the first half of this game, and man, did this guy Mitchell Robinson come in and make his presence felt. 15 rebounds on the game, wow. 10 offensive rebounds. I could maybe make an argument. I got to look at the stats, but I believe over 80% of his rebounds came in the second half of this game when they inserted him in for Cat. I was so impressed because I hate watching Mitchell Robinson play basketball. He looks incompetent. I hate to say it, incompetent 90% of the time this dude's on the floor. He's flailing his body around. He's not in right position, whatever. Fourth quarter of this game, he asserted himself on the glass, and I thought that was the difference maker and why the Knicks won this game was just the rebounding game. 59 rebounds, including 23 offensive for the Knicks, 42 rebounds, and in only 18 offensive rebounds for the Spurs. I thought that was a huge difference maker, Mitchell Robinson coming in the second half of this game. And then on top of them getting their extra possessions, they started really hitting their shots. In that fourth quarter, I would love to see the statistics of it, but man, in that fourth quarter, they really, really shot the ball very well throughout the entire one. Jordan Clarkson, three-point shot. Jordan Clarkson, three-point shot. OG Anunoby, three-point shot. Let's see, Jalen Brunson, quick shot. These guys were hitting their big shots in the fourth quarter, and I thought that that's what really this game came down to, was the Knicks hitting their shots when they needed to, getting the offensive rebounds when they missed, and controlling the pacing of the game in the second half. I did say with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go, the Spurs were down 4. Stephon Castle got to the free throw line, had a chance to make it a one-possession game, and he missed the free throws. I thought that was a really awkward turnaround because the Knicks came right down, hit a three-point shot on the other end. I thought that was a big swing where the Spurs could have gotten themselves late in this game. But, man, the Knicks absolutely ran away with this, won the free throw battle at the end of the game, and overall took down a 124-113 victory after trailing going into the fourth quarter to win all of them. I believe the number was $530,000 apiece. Every single player on the New York Knicks rotation got. So shout out to the Knicks. Big credit, by the way, to Mike Brown, the head coach. A lot of the time, I don't think Tyler Kolek would have gotten into the game. You know, if Thibodeau was still there, I don't know how Kolek's progression would be this year. I think a guy like Yabusele would be getting minutes, who they paid. I think they would have wanted to bring in one of those Thibodeau guys instead of letting these young guys develop. Kolek's been sitting back there for a while and played very valuable minutes. Not just next to Jalen Brunson, but also as the backup point guard as well. But overall, OG Anunoby, in my opinion, was the best player in this game. 28 points, had 20 of those in the first half. He was off-ball cutting. He was hitting his corner threes. Aggressive in the rebounding mark. I am seeing that OG Anunoby technically out-rebounded every player on the San Antonio Spurs.
Why did Wembenyama not stop?
Wembenyama hasn't been starting. He is still coming back from injury, technically. And Luke Cornett is kind of just as tall, so basically he can just do the jump ball, and I think that was really all. He came right in with like 9 minutes to go in the first quarter. It was just one of those rests to start the game kind of things to make sure
that shows you how unimportant this whole thing is.
But hey, it was a great game. Great game overall. The NBA Cup was fun. I thought Jalen Brunson deserved to be the MVP of it. I do agree, the Knicks needed to win this one. The Knicks felt like the Spurs championship for this was beating the Thunder a week ago. That's what I should have realized going into this week with my prediction. The Spurs did what they wanted to do a couple of days ago in beating the Thunder. The Knicks wanted to win the whole tournament, and the Knicks came out, asserted dominance from the start with their off-ball cutting and letting Brunson control the pace of the game, and they won the game. So shout out to the in-season tournament for bringing fun basketball. And Knicks, now the Knicks get to hang another banner up in Madison Square Garden.
If they